Even if you don't understand the Igbo language, you can certainly hear the pain in this voice. This gut-wrenching cry, heavy with so much pain and finality, came from a wife, a mother of 6 boys, including twins, and the backbone of her family. It was a desperate plea of a woman soaked in petrol, also known as gasoline, and set ablaze by her own husband. What kind of provocation could lead a man to do this to the mother of his children? What could have possibly driven him to commit such a horrific act? And why do so many women remain trapped in marriages that strip them of their strength, their peace, and sometimes even their lives? Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you will understand why, especially in a country like Nigeria, women endure years of silent suffering, only for some to pay the ultimate price. Blessing Chioma Nwaka was described by her family and friends as lively, kind, and easygoing. Her resilience made her the sole breadwinner, tirelessly working to feed and care for her 6 boys. Meanwhile, her husband, Sunday Nwaka, a welder by trade, did little to ease her burden. Her sacrifices, however, were met with constant escalating violence. The couple's marriage wasn't a happy one. Far from it. For years, Blessing endured abuse at the hands of her husband. Friends and family knew about his anger issues, and sadly, his outbursts sometimes turned physical. A close friend even recalled a time Sunday attacked her with a bottle. Several times, she confided in her close friends and family about the abuse she had been enduring at the hands of her husband. She spoke of the emotional and physical pain she suffered, hoping for a way out. Yet, despite the constant beatings, she stayed. Why? For her children. She wanted her boys to grow up with both parents, to have what she thought was a stable home, even if it meant sacrificing her own peace and safety. During the Christmas and New Year celebration, the family traveled to their hometown in Abagana, in Jikoka local government area of Anambra State for the holidays. But what should have been a time of celebration turned into a nightmare. According to Sunday's confession, on the morning of Tuesday, January 21st, his anger reached a breaking point. He described his wife as a constant source of trouble, someone who gave him headaches, and her late nights had been a growing problem for quite some time. He had been harboring resentment over this, allowing the frustration to fester until it became unbearable. On this particular day, however, the tension between them escalated in a way it never had before. Sunday confronted his wife aggressively, demanding an explanation for her late return the previous night. Whatever Blessing said, whether it was an innocent reason or a perfectly reasonable explanation, was not enough for him. Her response, no matter how justified, didn't satisfy him and did nothing to quell the storm inside him. His frustration only grew, clouding his judgment and pushing him further into a fit of rage. This time, he snapped, and in blind rage, Sunday poured petrol on his wife and set her on fire with a lighter. As the flames consumed her, neighbors heard her haunting cry, "Marriage has killed me. Marriage has killed me." They rushed to help as she was taken to the hospital, but the damage was too severe. Blessing suffered 3rd-degree burns and succumbed to her injuries on Wednesday morning, leaving behind 6 boys, the very reason she had stayed in the marriage. She didn't want her children to grow up without their father. Now, they are left without their mother instead. Sunday surrendered himself to the police and confessed to his crime. During questioning, he broke down in tears, asking his children for forgiveness. He blamed the devil for his actions. But can we really excuse something so horrific with a simple, "the devil made me do it"? In his confession, Sunday described himself as a calm person, someone who was usually easygoing. However, he claimed that his wife, Blessing, pushed him to the wall. He also mentioned his previous marriage, suggesting that his first wife was also troublesome, which led to their separation. But the question is, what are the odds that both wives would be at fault? Are these women truly the problem, or is Sunday the common denominator in both situations? It's hard to ignore the red flags in his narrative. By blaming others and external forces like the devil, he's trying to shift responsibility away from himself. The real issue is Sunday's inability to control his anger and take responsibility for his own actions. The devil didn't make him do anything. It was his anger, his insecurities, and his toxic behavior that led to this tragedy. This case gained national attention after a viral video surfaced online showing Blessing fighting for her life. Her story reignited conversations about domestic violence and the cultural expectations that keep women in dangerous marriages. In Nigeria, it's common for parents to reject their married children who return home after a failed marriage. In fact, as daughters are being married off, they are often told in no uncertain terms, "Don't ever come back." Divorce is seen as a shameful failure, and women are expected to endure whatever their marriages bring, even if it kills them. On the other hand, some women internalize these expectations. They see divorce as a sin, a crime, or a personal failure. They cling to for better, for worse, even when the worse becomes life-threatening. They'd rather die in their marriages instead of being labeled a divorcee, as the case of popular gospel singer Osinachi. You can watch her case here. They remain trapped in a cycle of abuse, unable to break free due to fear, love, or societal pressures. Others, like Blessing, stay for their children. They'd rather have their kids grow up with both parents, hoping to provide what they believe is a stable home. But is it really a stable home when abuse and violence are the constant? What happens to children who grow up watching their mother being beaten and humiliated? How about their mental health? How do they not think this is even affecting their kids mentally, emotionally, when the home is now a place of combat? The reality is, your children should be the number one reason to leave an abusive marriage, not the other way around, not a reason to stay. Staying doesn't help anyone, not the woman, not the children. It just perpetuates a cycle of violence. Boys who grow up witnessing abuse often become abusers themselves, as this behavior is normalized in their minds, and they eventually continue it in their own relationships. Our parents also need to do better. They must support their married children, listen to them, believe them, and accept them when they choose to leave a dangerous marriage. Because if you don't, you might end up carrying your daughter or son out of that house in a coffin. Marriage is not a do-or-die affair. If it's not working, please leave, for your sake and for your children's sanity. The Anambra State government has vowed to ensure justice is gotten for Blessing, and local authorities have also promised to support her children who are now left to deal with the loss of both parents, one to death, the other to prison. In the aftermath of Blessing's death, some bloggers tried to tarnish her reputation by suggesting that infidelity might have played a role. With no evidence to support their claims, they accused her of being unfaithful, implying that she somehow deserved what happened to her. However, her husband never made any such accusations. He only stated that she frequently stayed out late, returning home in the early hours. While these details might lead some to jump to conclusions, it's important to remember that no one, no matter the circumstances, deserves to be treated in such a brutal manner. The truth, however, is that Blessing worked hard to support her family. She earned a living by helping to cook for occasions, a job that often demanded long hours and extended her work late into the night. It's easy to see how this would take up most of her time and keep her out late. Yet, instead of being appreciated for her effort to keep the family afloat, her dedication became a point of contention. It's sad how often victims are blamed for their own suffering. Isn't being killed in such a horrific way enough? What I believe is that in most of these cases, insecurity plays a role. Some men feel threatened when their wives do better than them, especially when the wife becomes the sole breadwinner. This often leads to baseless suspicions and unnecessary conflict. Take, for example, the case of the nurse, Taiwo, who moved her family to the UK, only to be killed by her insecure husband. You can watch her story here. Blessing's story is honestly painful. People need to know that abuse doesn't just stop, it escalates. If you or someone you know is in an abusive marriage, remember this: staying for the sake of others is never worth your life. There is no honor in enduring abuse. May her soul rest in peace, and may her children find the strength to heal. So that's it for this case, guys. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more true crime stories, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Together we can bring these stories to light and honor the voices that can no longer speak for themselves. Please like and share this video so more people can learn from these stories and hopefully make a difference. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.